Gather round, all of you who would listen. I have a tale to tell. A story of warriors and kings, a saga of dark magic, a legend of high adventure. Long ago, a series of dark spells were created with the power to enslave our world. Evil magic with no purpose but that of destruction. But before these spells could be invoked, they were stolen and broken apart. Dark and powerful. These words were not easily destroyed, and so were hidden about the world, branded onto the souls of innocents, cursing their lives for eternity. Men are mortal, and time can be the enemy of fear. All too soon we forget how the bee will sting and the fire will burn. As time passed, these families forgot what the marks were for, dismissing the ancient warnings about these words of power. They were merely stories, tales from a long past time. But an evil sect, known only as the Kasai, knew nothing of time, and with infinite patience they waited until their spells were rediscovered. One group stood alone in the battle against evil, known only as the Rakus. They watched over and protected those marked with the spells. Their ranks were filled with the greatest and most honorable warriors who gave up everything for the cause of defending those marked. Many legends tell of the bravery of the Rakus and of their eternal struggle with the Kasai. Like these stories, mine begins long ago. But unlike any other that I know of, it also begins with the hero's death. I remember it all as if it were a dream. I, Kuzo, scout and chronicler to the great Rao Utu, flying over a white landscape through snow-filled skies, being drawn by a voice calling my name.
Kuzo, it is I, Oracle to the Three Kingdoms, and I am in need of your service. Spirit Guide, something has happened that neither the gods nor I could foresee. Your master, Rao-Utu, is dead. His death is unexpected and has thrown the heavens into chaos. The gods are calling on you, Spirit Guide, to visit the past and relive critical periods that led up to his death. We do not know when or how this happened, Kuzo. All we know is that Rao was betrayed. We were betrayed. 3 destinies are intertwined with Rao's, Kuzo. His sister Tati, and the Rakus warriors, Bamusu and Grizz. Travel with them all once more, rewalk their paths, and discover what has happened. All I know is that it will end in a decision that shapes the future of mankind. Let us travel back to when Bamusu and Grizz were mighty warriors fighting for the Rakus. Let us travel 20 years into your past, back to Tapuroku and the pursuit of a traitor.
Many years before I served Rao, I traveled the land in the charge of Baumusu, a great and noble warrior. I remember journeying with him and his mentor Grizz on urgent Rakus business. We were to hunt down a fugitive to Rakus turned traitor called Maibisi before he located the final parts to the mark of Kree. As soon as we landed on the shores of Tapuroku, we knew something was amiss. We had been warned that Maibisi had wealth and could hire mercenaries, but these men were no bought swords. They fought with too much passion, too much hatred. Only upon closer inspection did Grizz discover their real identity. They were outlawed members of an ancient cult known only as the Kasai. Maibisi was a Turakus who had been dabbling in forbidden Kasai lore. He had discovered the whereabouts of the Mark of Kree and was attempting to retrieve its parts before he was discovered and stripped of his rank. He had located all the marks except 2. We had been instructed to capture him and ensure that these final marks remain hidden. It seems strange to me now that nobody considered the Kasai a threat back then. They were all but wiped out, an old enemy long forgotten. But the Kasai had found one of the 2 remaining marks in Tapuroku, and now their attention shifted to the final mark.
The great Baumusu and Grizz. An honor indeed.
Maibisi, hand over the scroll or taste my steel.
Or taste my steel? I don't think so, barbarian. Your steel is no longer a match for my skills. This is the 5th part, Rakus. Now I only need the child to complete the spell.
We will die before we let that happen, traitor.
You cannot stop me, Rakus. I already know her location. It's too late. No one can protect her.
Kasai, I can smell their taint on you from here.
Fool, Rakus! Kneel before me, who bear witness to my power!
Chris, defend yourself! Dark magic is afoot!
I remember that the Kasai were not what they are now. Back then they were all but destroyed, yet there had been many of them at Tapuroku, and Maibisi commanded them like a general. And what of the strange beast conjured from the ground? It had been eons since anyone had possessed such magic. Had Maibisi studied enough of their black arts to command such creatures? Now Maibisi had all of the parts to the Mark of Kree save one. A mark that was on the back of a defenseless infant. We had many questions that needed to be answered.
And so you return from the first path, Spirit Guide, from 20 years in the past. Back then, the Rakus were naive to Maibisi's treachery, and had no idea where it would lead. Baumusu and Grizz left for Vaitaku in search of answers, but we will return to their part in this story later. Spirit Guide, let us now leap forward in time 20 years to the next path we wish to walk. Back when Rao and his sister Tati were seeking information about the mark on her back. They wanted to learn more about the ancient spell that Tati bore, and about the nightmares that plagued her. That is how they came to the city of Nungari, and to me.
So the Oracle's attention shifted to Tati, Rao's sister, now 21 and bitter at the world. Cursed with a line from the Mark of Kree, filled with anger and hatred for the Kasai, she walked a knife edge between good and evil, as she sought to destroy those who had killed her family. Rao and Tati were searching for a tree that was an oracle. I remember him instructing her to be stealthful as we arrived at the outskirts of the city. Nungari was a dangerous place, and so they should split up. He would take to the roofs, while she, the streets. Years before, when Rao was young and in search of adventure, he had sought information from an oracle in Vaitaku. There he ate her fruit and learned of the Mark of Kree and other spells that cursed the 3 kingdoms. He had barely escaped with his life, and later learned the tree had been cut down by the Kasai, and that he was the last to commune with her. As a child, Rao remembers his tutor Baumusu speaking of the oracle and its importance to the 3 kingdoms. He also remembers a second tree being planted should the first ever be destroyed. This second tree was in Nungari, a Kasai city. To sneak into a Kasai stronghold like Nungari was foolish, but Rao sought advice from the Oracle. He needed information about the strange skills that Tati was developing, and the nightmares that plagued her. Upon communing with the Oracle, she told him that Rao was one of the last of the Rakus, an ancient order of warrior knights charged with watching over those marked with the spells. Then she warned Tati to beware the temptation that came with her curse, for the mark was evil and would seek to manipulate her. She instructed them in their destiny, preordained by the gods.
You should travel the land, seeking out those cursed with the mark, and ensure that they are protected. Some will be ancient scrolls hidden away, while others will be innocents, marked and oblivious to their importance.
She also warned them to make haste in their quest. They were not the only ones with interest in these words of power. Someone else was collecting the spells. Someone was amassing a library of evil.
The spells that had been hidden for so long were slowly being rediscovered, Kuzo, and you were all that stood between them and the Kasai. Over the next few years, you guided Rao and Tati as they sought the spells. One of these spells was hidden at the top of an immense tower called Basuku. The tower had been sacked years before, but the tomb containing the ancient scroll was not easily opened. Crafted by alchemists during the First Age, it had withstood all Kasai attempts to be opened. Only you knew how to open the tomb, Kuzo. Only you could retrieve the mark of Basuku. But only Rao could defeat the Gangoon priest that guarded it.
Mount Basuku. The tomb sat at its summit and would be defended every step of the way by dark forces of the Kasai, or the Horde, as they had come to be known. Rao instructed Tati to be stealthful where possible, but to not shy away from a fight. The walls of the tower were carved from the mountain itself, and sound would not carry too far. The tower proved to be well guarded. The Horde, as they were known, fought viciously when alerted and almost got the better of us once or twice. I scouted ahead, offering an insight as to what was further on, and up we climbed into the heart of the tower. It was only one part of a spell that we sought, one line of which there were 6 others. But the Oracle had told us that with even one line missing, any spell would be rendered useless. Only when all of its parts were brought together could it be invoked. Locked away in a tomb at the top of the tower rested one line from an ancient spell, a birthmark that once belonged to a king. Now nothing more than a scroll of human skin. As we approached the final staircase, the air about us seemed to thicken with the sickly sweet smell of incense. Tati complained to Rao that her mark was itching, a sensation she felt only when great evil was close. I tried to remember from where I knew this smell. I was sure that I recognized it, but before I could call out a warning, it was too late. Rao had already opened the door, and outside waiting for us was a Gangoon priest.
Rahutu, finally we meet. So, you're the one who killed our brother. I thought you'd be taller.
You are not well liked in my social circle, barbarian. Many want your head. I presume she's the one who's marked? Yes, that's her. It's very nice of you to bring her to me, barbarian. You've saved us a lot of trouble. This is actually quite funny. Can't you see the irony in this? You came to steal a line from the Mark of Basuku and brought me one from the Mark of Kree. Oh, that's perfect, just perfect. Now just fall on your sword like a good boy. And spare me the unpleasantness of having to kill you. Or you can wait over there. Oh, feisty, eh? That's good. That's good. But to us, your value lies not in your skills, but in your skin. We almost had you once before, little one. You shall not evade us a second time. I guarantee your brother won't come to your rescue this time. I will kill him, have you flayed, and be on my way to Hassa before your skin is even cold. Wait! Patience, barbarian. It will begin soon enough. Maun gun rausoto fan umbalo. Maun gun rausoto fan umbalo. Maun gun rausoto fan umbalo.
And so we learned of the Gangun's hunger for Tati's mark. Years before, Rao had battled a necromancer over the mark of Kree and triumphed. He hoped that with his death, the knowledge of his sister's secret would be lost. Alas, that was not the case. The necromancer was a Gangun priest, and now his brothers sought Tati's mark and retribution for his death.
Rao killed his first Gangun years before, a high-ranking priest who was attempting to incant the Mark of Kree. Now, a second priest had been taken by his bow, and the Kasai's hatred for Rao had become further inflamed. Which leads us to the next piece in Rao's destiny, Iguakatu. Built at the center of a lake bordered by the three kingdoms, Iguakatu is the capital for banking and trade. At its center resides the corrupt Imperial Banking Commission, and guarded within its walls, a line from the Mark of Omu. The spell is protected by horde ranks, awaiting ships that will transport them east to Hassa, home of the Kasai. Revisit this path and help steal it, Kuzo. Guide them well.
As we approached Iguakatu, Rao and Tati adjusted their packs so they could be silent. Tati had brought puffer mushrooms with her, deadly fungi that killed when triggered, perfect for traps. She had also been developing a new skill that caused Rao and I much distress. The mark on her back was empowering her with strange abilities, bribing her with subtle tastes of what it and its kind could offer. She could now fog the minds of those around her, seeming to disappear. But as Rao and I watched Tati slowly master this new skill, we wondered what cost would come from tasting the dark magic. The mark was evil, as was all that came from it. We had to make our way to the city's financial district and the heart of Iguakatu. There in a vault, guarded night and day, was one of the ancient spells. Iguakatu's vaults were considered by many to be the safest place to hoard your treasure. But then, they hadn't counted on my companions and the skills of Arrakis. My master and his sister were traveling farther from all that they knew, and I fear they were also beginning to drift apart. Tati was becoming a great warrior in her own right, but was quick to question the ways of the Arrakis. Her mark was beginning to affect her, leaking whatever magic from which it was made. The spell was sweating dark magic that was slowly altering her personality. She now had less patience for her training and grew easily frustrated at Rao's tutorage. The financial district was built like an ornate fortress, its decorative facades covering buildings designed for battle. Wherever possible, we avoided combat, sneaking over roofs and through alleyways, but sometimes a brawl could not be avoided, and I watched as my companions gracefully dispatched Kasai guards before silently moving on. Inside the vault, we found the mark of Omu. But it was not on a scroll as we had expected. It was on the back of a living child. Having to guide a terrified infant through the flames of battle was not what anyone expected. Praise the gods for whatever blessing they gave us that day. Tati comforted the child, sharing a bond that all the marked felt. In a way, they were family, both cursed and shunned by the world.
A terrified infant too young to understand, all that he ever knew taken from him, just like Tati. Do you remember the palace of Yolo Maibisi and our rescue attempt, Kuzo? It was here where Grizz and Tati's destinies overlapped. Like Tati, Grizz too was marked with one of the ancient spells, and so was of value to the Kasai. For a decade we thought that he had perished with Baumusu, but then word came from the south that he lived, and was being held in Maibisi's dungeons. I'm sorry to do this to you, Kuzo. Grizz was your friend, and rewalking this path will pull at old wounds.
The great and noble Grizz, captured while rushing to Baumusu's aid 10 years ago. For a decade, he rotted in a stinking Kasai dungeon before we got word that he was still alive. We were told that he had run 3 days straight to warn Baumusu of the imminent attack on their home, but had arrived too late. Tati, only a child then, remembers seeing her favorite uncle charging exhausted into the fray before disappearing beneath a mass of Kasai troops. That was her last memory of Grizz. And the last day of her childhood. Maibisi, traitor to the Rakus, leader of the Kasai. His presence was now felt all over the three kingdoms. The palace of Yolo Maibisi, a grand structure built to honor their leader, now a prison for all who dare question the Kasai. Grizz was closer to Tati than anyone, except maybe her brother. They were both marked and so shared a deep friendship, an unspoken union that transcended any blood bond. Tati had always felt a strong kinship towards the old warrior. They thought alike, and they fought alike. Now old enough to understand, she recognized why Grizz could comfort her from her nightmares like no other. Because he shared them.
Who's there? What do you want with me? Are you Rekus? Did the aura... Rao? Is that you, boy? It is you. Come close, boy. Let me have a look at you. Rao, you're alive, boy. I never dared hope. Wait. No. Tati? Tati all grown up? Oh, by the gods.
Uncle Grizz, we didn't know that you survived. We thought you died with Balmusu. We came as soon as we heard. We had no idea that you were here. What was that? We have to go. Uncle Grizz, can you walk?
Yes. Yes, I can walk. But wait, there's something I must...
Quickly, back the way we came. Rao, that smell. Do you recognize that smell?
Your footsteps have triggered my guard. I am too valuable a prize to be safeguarded by the Horde. Maibisi left one of his pets as my keeper. Come close, Tati. They have finished me.
No! Uncle Grizz! We came for you! Don't die! Not now, not after all this! We came as soon as we heard! We had no idea that you were here!
Hush now, child. I know you would have come sooner had you known. I thank the gods that you're both safe, and that I got to see you one last time. Listen to me, both of you. Beware Maibisi, the one who leads the Kasai. He is powerful and cannot be killed by your blades. His heart is gone. It has been removed and encased in crystal. Remember this.
Uncle Grizz, stay strong. We'll get you out of here.
Shh. I'm not going anywhere, child. 'Tis better that I die in battle than from this place. Wait, Rao, listen to me, boy. My mark, you must take it with you. Do not leave it with them. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, boy? Take my mark with you. The Oracle, she is safe. Then the Rakus will fight again. Be careful, Tati. Maibisi watches you. You are part of a grand plan, and shall one day rule the three kingdoms. He seeks to control you.
Rao, I'll do it. Let me do this for you.
And so another hero passed on. Painful memories sting my eyes, all the more bitter for having to relive them. This was the first time Tati had heard talk of her destiny, and how the Rakus planned to unite the three kingdoms against the Kasai. Before dying, Grizz had spoke of her importance and the ancient folklore that told of a queen unifying the land. What Grizz didn't mention was that the queen could unite the land for good or for evil.